We all know that spring break is coming up in less than 2 weeks, and one thing I've heard in common with a lot of people's plans is going to the beach to have a good time during spring break. And me being an employed Volusia County beach lifeguard for the past 2 years, thinks about things and worries for some people, because I have experience with tourists and ocean conditions, and with this job comes responsibility to all types of people, oftentimes with their lives, to know and be able to inform beachgoers about the environment, from things as simple as pollution to something as serious as spotting a rip current a mile and a half away. And I'm going to give the rest of my speech today on beach safety techniques to make sure that you have a good time at the beach during spring break. And the most common question I get every day, just about, and it's a very important one, is rip currents. And I sit at a tower like this every day for 8 hours, and we have a sign here that has an image on the back of it that it helps explain what rip currents are. Because you have the beach, the sand of the beach that meets the water, and then it gets deep and it comes back up towards shallow for the sandbar. And as the waves come in, it pushes water in, and it gets stuck in this ditch between the beach and the sandbar, and all the water needs to push its way back out. And what a rip current is a channel forming where the water pushes its way back out, and any bathers in this area will oftentimes get pulled out. And the problem occurs whenever they try to swim directly back into shore. They just get tired and fatigued, and a lot of times they drown if there's no lifeguard in the area. The idea of it is to swim out of it this way or that way, so it's not pulling you directly. You get out of it, and then you can swim back in while it's not pulling you out anymore. And as lifeguards, we have flag warnings every day as you come onto the beach that display red flag, green flag, yellow flag, expressing the different risks of being a high risk of recurrence or moderate risk or a safe risk, green. And another thing that people often don't ask about because they don't even understand is the ocean current. The current will pull either north or south while you're in the water, and little kids who are just waist deep in the water will be sitting in the water but end up half a mile down the beach away from their family and be completely lost. And we as a lifeguard have to deal with that most times, like 2 times a week or so. And we get lost kids, so we just have to get them back to their family because they get pulled in the ocean current. Another thing is the tide changes, because a lot of people don't understand how the water comes in the east coast of Florida. It comes in a high tide and goes out in low tide about 6 hours later. And people will be able to walk out to the sandbar where it's waist deep during low tide, but half an hour later, as they're out in the water having fun, the water will come in and they can no longer walk back to the shore. If they can't swim, that creates a major problem for a lot of lifeguards, and we have experience looking for this, and it's a hazard for sure if there's no lifeguards in the area. Another question I get asked all the time is about marine life. About sharks is probably the most common one, because people mistake them for dolphins, or just they understand that the ocean is big with a lot of fish and monsters and scary things that they just are concerned about. So they ask me, who informs them that a lot of times they get confused between dolphins who go up and down and have a similar fin, or sharks that will swim back and forth if you even see their fin while they're swimming. Commonly, people get stung by jellyfish maybe like 3 times a week if you work the whole week. Me personally, I just wash off their sting to make sure it doesn't sting anymore, get all the tentacles out, and then you make sure it doesn't get infected, give them some vinegar so that it does no longer hurt. And a big problem with tourists is they all want to sunbathe. They come down from Kentucky to Daytona Beach. They want to go lay out in the sun. You get tan and say, hey, look at me, I look awesome because I'm all tan, as they come back up to all the white Kentuckians. And so they'll lay out right next to the car. As you're allowed to drive on the beach, you pull in, and then they'll just lay out next to the car. And this is a hazard because other cars will pull in right next to you. It's the parking routine, and it's happened before. I haven't experienced it, but people might get run over a hip while they're doing this. There's designated areas either in front or behind your car or down by the water if you're going to be sunbathing. And that's a really quick speech about how to explain what goes on the beach, and you may not fully get it, and it takes a lot of experience to know. But that doesn't mean you can't go have a good time at the beach. Just make sure you summon your lifeguard and keep those rules in mind.